Hi everyone, my name's Maria Grillis, and I've recently connected with Christian through now we met through an online sort of community that we were both involved with. So it's a gentleman called Mark Atwood, and he's running an online course, and we've connected through the Telegram channel and the conversations that go on within that sort of community. And we found each other and realized that we both have a carnivore sort of journey that we've been on. Myself, I've been on it for just over 2 months. And yeah, I guess we can jump straight into it. So as far as your journey, how long have you, what made you sort of decide to try this very controversial diet? You know, how long have you been on it? And I guess we'll just start with that and see how we go with questions.
Okay, so I was aware that Mark Atwood had joined up with a guy called Jeremy Ayre, who runs a website or company called Naturally Better with Jeremy Ayre. So they'd started a challenge called the Max the Light Challenge in, I think, January of 2021, maybe. I'd already started my own kind of dietary changes journey by that point in response to lose a lot of hair or and a fungal toenail infection that I wanted to try and see if I could resolve without the use of pharmaceutical drugs, which often, or more often than not, have a long list of side effects. So I was aware that they'd started the Max the Light Challenge in the January, but because I was already on with some dietary changes, I thought, well, I don't want to just jump ship onto to a different protocol straight away without, giving what I'm was currently doing a bit more chance to have some results. So I've been carb free and grain free for probably coming up 3 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, and I've been pretty much carnivore since September, so that's about 9 months now.
Wow.
Maybe about 3 years ago, I decided to drop out all grains and all carbs, but I wasn't really aware of the carnivore diet at that point. I was following an antifungal diet protocol,
Right.
which recommended removing all carbohydrates from your diet because they break down into, well, a lot of the carbohydrate foods that we eat, like white potatoes, are, if I remember it right, they are simple carbohydrates, so they break down into sugars, which are less usable for the body. They don't really convert into the it's basically the fats which your energy is coming from, not necessarily carbohydrates. So I kind of I watched other people on the Max the Light Challenge for a good few months before having a one-to-one session with Jeremy Ayre, which was really useful.
Oh, you've had a one-on-one with him. How was that?
Yeah, I did,
actually.
Say that again, sorry.
How was the one-on-one with Jeremy?
It became it was very useful. He's a really nice guy, very approachable. So I didn't have any issues with explaining my life story to him, and issues with health over the years. It was very useful. But one thing I would say is that the dietary aspect of the Naturally Better with Jeremy Ayre is only one aspect of the whole thing, really. And there's so many other aspects to making changes in your life which are beneficial and for healing, that there will be easy or not so easy for different people to implement. So me being me, I've always been, I was a vegetarian for 20 years, so I'm able to be quite strict with myself in terms of diet. So I do actually believe that, amongst other things, being vegetarian for 20 years, I'm sure had a detrimental effect on my digestive system. So I'm not quite sure of the time scales, but I was living with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, for quite a few years. Even for the 2 years of becoming carb and grain free, there was small small benefits in terms of my digestion, like the number of times that I might go to the loo in a single day, reduced, and the experience of going to the loo, it wasn't quite so debilitating as having a full-on day with you might go to the loo 10 or 12 times, and
wow.
it was quite debilitating, really. So, but it was only really when I made really significant changes in September of 2022, so last September, where I literally dropped out virtually all vegetables, and I went pretty much totally carnivore. So a typical day for me might be 4 eggs for breakfast, a few rashers of bacon. I kind of do agree that the bacon is a processed food, and it's not the one of the best items to eat, but I do enjoy it a lot. So I'm eating a good breakfast, really. So 4 eggs. I might have quite a bit of salmon with that, and bacon, and some butter as well on that to bump up the fat level. I might have 2 or 3 cans of mackerel in tomato sauce for a lunch, and then I might have sometimes I'll have 2 ribeye steaks for an evening meal, sometimes just 1. So I'm 6'2" and I'm 50.
Wow, 50, you don't look it.
Well, kind of, I think I look older than my age, really.
No, no. I mean, like anyone with a
does
like it's
years on me, actually.
definitely not 50.
Lost my train of thought. Where was I? You have to remind me where I was.
That's all right. I was just gonna what was your reaction to kind of just being confronted with all this really controversial information after being a vegetarian for such a long time? How did you process all that?
Well, okay, so I didn't stop being vegetarian to start this process. I'd stopped being vegetarian probably 10 or 12 years ago and started eating meat, but I was eating what I considered to be a more balanced diet, so meat and trying to have my 5 a day, vegetables and fruit, which I now think comes from less than positive, intents, really, the 5 a day, particularly that phrase. Anyway, so, I haven't been vegetarian for about 10 years, but as I say, I was trying to eat a balanced diet with, lots of fruit and veg. But it was only in the September of last year when I dropped out virtually 100% of vegetables that I really noticed an increased positive result on IBS. So it went from, as I say, might be 7 or 8, 10 times going to the loo a day. It literally has dropped down to 3 or 4. So that's been pretty much the single most important benefit that I've experienced from it. I was getting up at 4 in the morning to go to the loo for the first time in the day. Well, now I don't need to do that. So just that dietary aspect has had a massive impact on my day-to-day life. But as I was saying before, it's not just the protocol that Jeremy Ayre talks about or provides through his Naturally Better system is the diet is just the one aspect. So there's a lot of other recommendations in the protocol that I haven't managed to implement. Another important aspect is light. So the use of blue light blocking glasses.
I haven't looked into that either. I have to really sort of look at the other protocol sort of points that he outlines, which is as important as the diet. Yeah,
very important stuff.
Yeah.
But with family life and my day-to-day work involves evening work, so I found that very hard to implement those changes in my life. So reducing blue light after sunset. So and then it's not just about the practical aspects of day-to-day living as well. There's a lot of it focuses on inner work, so facing up to emotional blockages, or in changing your diet and reducing things like comfort eating or going to carb-based foods as
you almost feel kind of really uncovered and naked, don't you? It's like
and it does bring up emotional issues that you've got to look at from a fresh perspective. Not to say that that's over and done with. I'm sure there's a lot more work to be done. I'm just like to highlight the fact that it's not all about diet, and there's many different aspects. Yeah.
And I mean, I was talking to a lady yesterday, Rose Statham, just having a conversation about her carnivore journey. And she, she mentions that, when you do get on this diet, whether you need to lose weight or put on weight, your body will naturally release that weight without you even sort of prioritizing it. So if you just concentrate on, feeling satiated and making sure that you're eating enough food and eating the right foods, then your body will naturally balance itself out.
Yeah, that's I was hoping to have put on some weight, really, some muscle weight, but that hasn't particularly happened for me. So I kind of at a place where I do feel I need to be making more effort with regard to these other aspects. So, really taking notice of the reduction of blue light after sunset, and perhaps more, work on myself in terms of addressing emotional issues.
Yeah. So you've said that you've been on it now 11 months, did you say?
I'd say it was about 9 months full carnivore.
Yeah.
The other thing that I would say is that even after dropping out virtually 100% of all vegetables in September, maybe by the October, I decided to, I still do things like have a 1 or even 2 cups of coffee most days in the morning. I'm not super strict, and I'm not super pure with everything.
I'm not a Puritan either.
Yeah, I mean, it's really difficult. So another thing that there's certain aspects that I'm able to do, like be really strict in terms of no carbs, no grains, and no vegetables. But then come the evening time, I really, really struggle to get through a day without having a few little bits of high quality chocolate, for instance. So, there's some things that you're able to do, and there's some things that, you need to work at. So,
and it's about the long-term journey. You might sort of slip, or, if you now and then, if you sort of indulge in something that's a little bit naughty or off topic or off the diet, then, you just got to make sure that you don't focus on the small slip ups, and you kind of just concentrate on the long game. Definitely.
And you kind of have to allow yourself some dare I say it, pleasures, although they might be linked to emotional issues that you haven't worked on, and I'd say that they probably are. But it's small steps, and nobody's expecting you to be 100% correct on every single day. Life's not really like that. So as long as you can allow yourself to slip up on one day and then go back onto the protocol for the next day and for the next week, so, or whatever it suits you, I think that's quite beneficial than really, really flogging yourself to be very strict all of the time.
Yeah. With your you said that you had a bacterial infection on your foot.
A fungal toenail infection. So there's not been any change to that either. So it's been quite a long time since I had the one-to-one with Jeremy. So and I'm not terribly active on the. There's a lot of there's a community. So there's an active group. So I'm not terribly active within that. So I could have accessed a lot more help from other members. Than I have. It's striking a balance with work, family life, and other things.
And I mean, it's great because it depending on how much assistance you need, on this journey of being a carnivore, or a little bit of help or a lot of help, you really can sort of access a whole community online. There are hundreds, I would say, people on that community.
It's a large source of information. You do. I still pay a monthly subscription fee to Naturally Better with Jeremy Ayre, which is, I think, for me, it's £17 a month. But it's an invaluable resource to know that there's that body of information there, and there's people within the community group that you can call on for help, and the experts such as Jeremy himself as well. But there's another group which are working along similar lines, and that's the Big Fat Challenge with with Ben Hunt and Phil Escott. So I've watched some of their videos, but I haven't joined them. But I'm thinking of perhaps joining them just to get a bit of a fresh perspective. Get in touch with a different group of like-minded people. So I'd recommend both of those avenues for anybody that are interested in finding out more information about this.
Yeah, definitely. I would as well. I've gone onto the Big Fat Challenge website, and there is a video if anybody is interested in just kind of checking out, you know, what that course entails and what they offer. But it's very similar. It's just as one is just as good as the other. And as far as oxalates, did you kind of have an idea of oxalates when you started the carnivore diet, or did you sort of research any of that sort of content online?
No, out of all of the years that I was vegetarian, I never knew anything about oxalates. In fact, I didn't know anything about oxalates until I started looking at the information provided by Jeremy in the Max the Light Challenge. And I haven't knowingly had any experiences with oxalate dumping so far since I've changed my diet. As I say, I've been grain and carb free for the last 3 years. Because I have chocolate pretty much daily. I mean, I'm not talking huge bars or anything, it's a few squares.
Oh.
I think that cacao chocolate does have a reasonably high level of oxalates in it as well. But
I do say that,
personally speaking, I haven't had any issues with oxalate dumping so far, but other people do experience that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just to run through my experience with the carnivore diet for your knowledge, 14 years ago, I ended up with Epstein-Barr virus, which is another word for glandular fever or mononucleosis. There's all sorts of words for that. And I was over in the UK traveling actually, and I got it over there, got quite ill, got back to Sydney, was put on 3 rounds of antibiotics. They didn't actually test me for having had it. So for the 7 years after that, I didn't know that I had it. And because I was pushing through, I ended up with chronic, post-viral symptoms after that infection. And because I was drugged with so many antibiotics, my immune system obviously was depleted, and it was just, losing its strength. And, 13 years later, I'm still dealing with chronic pain, tinnitus in the ears, headaches and migraines, all over, body aches and pains, muscle, nerve, and joint. So anything that you can imagine, I've been through. And ever since I started this carnivore diet, 2 months later, you're looking at 30 to 40% decrease in inflammation alone. Headaches and migraines are pretty much vanished. Body aches and pains have been reduced quite considerably. It's just
including the tinnitus as well. Is your tinnitus reduced?
That's still kind of there, but it has alleviated somewhat. And my brain fog is getting dramatically better as well. So I can't see myself stopping anytime soon, because I think because I've been ill for quite some time, I think I need to reverse quite a lot of damage. And I'm going to continue on for another sort of 90 days after this is finished. So I'm not stopping anytime soon at all.
I feel the same actually. I can't see me going back to vegetables. I have introduced a small amount of fermented vegetables. So sometimes when I have a steak, I might have a bit of kimchi and a bit of sauerkraut with that, but it's well under 30% of the total volume of the meal. I still use other plants in terms of juices. So I'll still use lemons and the juices of lemons in the morning time with water. I did wake up with tinnitus a few years ago, and it literally wasn't there on the Sunday night. I woke up on a Monday morning and it was really deafeningly loud in my one ear. So at that point, I started taking lion's mane, reishi, and chaga medicinal mushrooms. And I took that. Yeah, sorry.
I was just making a note of what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, it was reishi, lion's mane, and chaga medicinal mushrooms. And after taking that daily for about 3 months, my tinnitus has totally disappeared. I do get it back intermittently, but there's not the constant ringing anymore. and it's nowhere near as loud as it was when it first arrived. So
right. Do loud
yeah.
venues and sort of pubs kind of, once you go into sort of noisy environments, you come home and sort of it feels worse, like it's...
Yeah, I've got damaged hearing in both ears anyway, so I've got 50% less hearing in my left ear and 25% left in my right, and through tests they think that it's reduced hearing through auditory damage, so through work, through enjoying loud music when I was younger. So yeah, now when I'm in situations like I went to a gig last night, I definitely have to use earplugs to limit the volume of sounds coming into my ears, because they're very sensitive these days.
Yeah, mine too. And I was experienced a lot of light sensitivity as well the last sort of 13 years. So that's been alleviated as well. I at my worst, I quite easily got sensory overload when I was out in public. And after 2 months now on a carnivore diet, I just feel like I can sort of get out more. I don't get as much anxiety with socializing and things like that. So it's all kind of, my fight or flight has been switched off a little bit. I've calmed down.
Yeah, I'd agree with that too. Now that you say that, that's actually just triggered a memory in me that of one of the other major benefits. So years ago, before I started my grain-free, carb-free carnivore type journey, I used to get hangry. So I don't know if people are aware of that's actually been a new word added to the dictionary. So it's it's getting irritable, tense, and snappy with people when you're hungry, basically. Yeah. But I was getting that an hour and a half to 2 hours after having eaten quite a large meal. Now I can go 6-7 hours between meals, and yeah, I'm hungry, but it's just a feeling in the background. I'm not getting stressed about what I'm going to eat and where the next meal's coming from. So yeah, I'd agree. I'm a lot calmer. I'm not able to deal with more stressful situations better than I used to be since trying out the carbs and the grains. Yeah.
So have your family and friends kind of noticed a huge difference? What has people's feedback been, after being on this diet for such a long time? What's the outside feedback that's coming out, back?
It's been a difficult journey. It really has. As I say, I've been on it 9 months now, and people aren't down with it. They're really not. My family, they all think they don't think I'm doing what's best for me. They really don't. They can see some benefits when I talk to them about how, I don't need to go to the loo so much now or in the middle of the night. They can see that I don't get hangry. But those pieces of information are totally eclipsed for them by the red meat causes cancer type information that's basically a media media phrase, pushing you back to the 5 a day kind of thing. So it's been a very difficult journey in terms of the closest people to me. Very difficult. So even though some of them have seen it, sorry.
I was just going to ask, have you noticed any sort of negative reactions or anything that you want to mention that you kind of didn't expect to feel or sense while you're on this diet that was kind of came up?
No, not really, no. As I say, I was expecting to have some kind of a purge,
a heart attack, but anyway.
Or an oxalate dump, but I haven't experienced those things. Looking back on it, I think I had a very mini keto flu, if you might want to describe it like that, and that was before I went full carnivore. So that was when I first dropped out carbs and grains, but before I'd stopped eating vegetables. So I had a mini flu for maybe 10 days, and it was light flu symptoms, mild flu symptoms, which I definitely put down to the change in diet. But I haven't had any other negative symptoms. No, not really at all. No, it's been pretty much positive for me. Yeah.
I was just going to ask, have you come across people like the Sally K Nortons and the Gary Fettke or anyone like that online on YouTube?
I know the name Sally K Norton because I think I've listened to an interview with Phil Escott and her a few months back, and I think they were talking about oxalate dumping there, but I can't really
Yeah.
remember the details of the video. No, and I don't know the other name that you mentioned.
Yeah, Gary Fettke is an Australian osteopath, funnily enough, but he actually started researching the like how the dietary guidelines in Australia were constructed and who was actually involved with funding them and all that sort of stuff. So he talks a lot about, you know, he's an advocate of the carnivore diet, low carbohydrates in general, with high fats, and just the general kind of benefits of being on that sort of diet. So I mean, when you start going on a carnivore diet, you come across so many people, and I'm finding it really hard to find any sort of negative information about carnivore diets. But there also isn't a lot of you know, formal evidence out there either of any sort of major testing that has been done. So it'll be nice to kind of see some you know, experimentation and formal sort of medical reports on, you know, what this carnivore diet actually, you know, benefits people, you know, with.
Well, if for anybody that's looking for scientific references, again, I would point you in the direction of Naturally Better with Jeremy Ayre, because the resources on the website, everything's backed up with scientific studies. So you're going to demonstrate what he's saying is based in truth.
Yeah. Okay. Did you want to sort of, if there's any way of people connecting? You know, you're obviously on YouTube at the moment.
I don't have my own YouTube channel,
Okay.
so there is no way of contacting me at the moment. Not online anyway. You know, I'm working. I've got a few projects up my sleeve, which I hope to realize, you know, in the short, in the near future. So watch this space.
Okay, cool. Do you want to talk a little bit about?
Do
you want to talk about those projects that are coming up, or do you want to just kind of leave that for now?
I'll leave it for the moment. I'll just I'll leave that in suspense.
Okay, lovely. All right. Well, it was nice talking to you. We'll sign off.
Good to meet you. Yeah.
Okay. I'll just stop recording now.